Hey, this is Jules, and I'm your host of The Jules J Show. Hey, it's your girl Jules from The Jules J Show. Thanks for tuning in. Let's just start off by saying thanks to the whole Track Cats team. Without them, I wouldn't be here, but definitely give a big shout out to DP. Doug, he's the man, the movement, everything behind the whole Track Cats. Check everybody out at trackcats.com. We want to give a shout out to Scott Miller. He's got a hot single out with Pastor Troy called I Want It All. We got our sax man, Dwan Bosman. He's got a new album out called Sax Attack. You can check both of them out on iTunes or YouTube. Let's not forget our girl Carla Ayala. She's got a hot new single out called Empty. You should see the video on YouTube. She's beautiful. She's hot. And she's up and coming. So definitely check everybody out. See what we got going on. Other than that, let's kind of go ahead and get into some stuff, some news around the world, or let's just say within the United States. The first one and foremost, let's talk about America is no longer considered the fattest country in the world. That's right. Actually, Mexico has topped us. Their obesity is at 32.8% and America's at 31.8%, which is still kind of relatively high. It's sad, but it is what it is. The reason why Mexico has basically taken first slots is that almost 50% of Mexicans' population is considered poor, so which means that they have a malnourished diet. So basically, they're becoming obese. I didn't know that last month the AMA, which is the American Medical Association, deemed obesity as a disease. A lot of times it is hereditary and things like that, but now it's official, it's a disease. So basically that just means that, individuals that have obesity running through their family, it's already genetic, things like that. You just kind of got to watch what you eat, exercise a little bit more, things of that, drink a lot of water, things of that nature. If you already got those genes and you already see the bloodline running through, just take extra precaution. So definitely want to take heed and just, let's move further down that list. The second thing kind of threw me off. I was, scrolling through some stuff on MSN and USA Today and Yahoo News and things like that. I came across a story in California. Over a course of several years between 2006 through 2010, approximately 150 inmates were supposedly coerced into getting a tubalization, which means basically that they couldn't reproduce any more children unless they went and got it undone. They said that the inmates that had this procedure done, a lot of them were deemed to be repeat offenders or those with too many kids. So during, as their due date came close, because a lot of these women were already sentenced while they was pregnant. So that means that they were going to give birth while they were in state custody. So as it came closer to their due dates, the doctors would start pressuring them to actually sign paperwork. Once they gave birth, they would go ahead and basically tie their tubes or cut them at that point in time. Which I don't necessarily disagree with that avenue. If a woman is in prison and she's had multiple kids, keeps coming back, the kids that she has already given birth to are in foster care or she's not providing for them, or even state dollars are taking care of them because they're in group homes, foster care, things like that, why not stop the cycle? Give me your feedback about that. You can always hit me up at julesj1878@gmail. But definitely tell me, what do you think? Because I feel like, the cycle's got to stop somewhere. I understand that it is definitely up to a woman's choice, and I don't feel that it's right that they should be coerced, but I definitely think that should be something that should be discussed, an option for those women out there so they can stop reproducing and, they have babies. And especially these women that are having babies in the prison system now. Not too many prisons allow for the children to stay with them. So once they do have birth, they have to give them up. Where do they go? If a family member does not want them, then they go into state custody. And if they're in state custody, that means tax dollars are paying for that. So I definitely think this is a topic that should be discussed. I'm not necessarily condoning them being coursed at a critical time when emotions are flying and things of that nature, but I do think that it's something that probably should be addressed and things of that nature. And I think that it should be not just women that are repeat offenders or women that have multiple kids, but I think that should be an option for anybody that comes into state custody. They are pregnant, they're going to deliver in state custody. That should be something that should be discussed through their prenatal care and things like that. So once again, definitely hit me up. Tell me what you think. I'm also on Facebook, Jules Johnson. So next thing. And we're just going through some of the big stories or some of the stories throughout the world before we get to the big story at the end. A lot of employers are now going to prepaid cards. A lot of people, when they get their income taxes back, they basically have their money put on a prepaid card. Individuals that can't get bank accounts and stuff like that, typically they use prepaid cards, things like that. And I know a lot of younger folks or young adults, they prefer not to have the credit cards, so they use prepaid cards. But I did not know that so many fees were associated with these prepaid cards. I was reading a story, Yahoo Finance, and basically a lot of companies are going to prepaid cards instead of paper checks because of the savings. And they're able to swipe the card, sign for it, use a little PIN number, things of that nature, just like a regular ATM card. But a lot of these cards, for an example, one provider charges $1.75 to make a withdrawal from an ATM. $2.95 for a paper statement, and $6 to replace a card, whether it was lost or stolen. And some users even have to pay $7 of inactivity fees for not using their card. It's their money, but they're being charged to use it, which I find really absurd. As I was reading this article, there was an individual who was making minimum wage, and they said on average, they are charged probably $40 to $50 a month just by all of the charges for using their card. This is not anything but basically using their card, swiping their card, things like that. And to me, I think that was a little steep. Like, these people are using the card, but you're charging them for every single time. And I know that even with bank accounts and things like that, you have monthly maintenance fees and things like that. But I don't get charged to swipe my card. I don't get charged if I use my PIN, which a lot of these companies do. And the thing is, a lot of employers are not giving these employees choices. Do you want direct deposit? Do you want a paper check? Or do you want a prepaid card? They're automatically just going to the prepaid card for the savings that saves the employer. But what about the employees? They're not getting any savings out of this, really. So as I was digging through this story, I wanted to kind of figure out, what was, some of the do's and don'ts, or basically some tips about using, or which are the prepaid cards that you should use, or what some things that you should look out. So if you're in a position where you have to use a prepaid card, kind of pay attention to some of these fees. The first one, purchase and activation fee. Is there a purchase fee? Is there an activation fee? And if so, how much is it? And even like sometimes when you go to Walmart, Walgreens, things like that, they have prepaid cards. See how much it is to activate one of those cards or load money onto it. There is typically a fee. I've seen anywhere from, a couple of dollars all the way up to $6 just to add money to the card. So definitely look out for that. Point of sale fee. The Silver Achieve Card Master and NetSpend Pay As You Go cards both charge $2 for a PIN and $1 for a signature purchase. So basically it's $2 when you enter your PIN number in for a purchase. And if you sign it like a credit card, it is $1. I think that is outrageous. How everything's going to electronic. Everything is basically either you're paying cash for it or you're sliding your card. So for $2 to enter your PIN number, by the time you go grocery shopping and take care of your regular bills and things like that, you're not going to have any money left over because you're paying for these other additional fees. So definitely be mindful of that. Customer service fee. Now this one I kind of threw me for a loop. A lot of times these cards you're able to get maybe 1 or 2 free calls to customer service per month. But let's say you're having an issue with stolen identity, or you have charges on there that you don't know where it came from, and you have to contact customer service more than once. Basically, they can charge typically $2 per call. So after you've reached your free limit max, if you have to call them 2, 3, 4, 5 times to try to get a situation corrected that wasn't even your fault to begin with, they're going to charge you every time you call, whether it's a 5-second call, 10-second call, or a 20-minute call. You're going to get charged. So definitely kind of be mindful of the customer service fee. Inactivity fee. If you do not use your card, they will also charge you. On average, it's generally 180 days or more, which to me seems like a lot for somebody not to use your card. But what if you're with those type of people that you're just putting money on the card and you're not trying to touch it because you're trying to save, and you don't use your card? They're still going to take your money away from you for you not spending your money, which to me is completely absurd. So I'm even with, the banking system, and there's regulations and things like that, I think they really do need to get a handle on these prepaid cards, because that just seems to be a lot of charges, especially for individuals who are only making minimum wage. They didn't ask for the prepaid card, it was given to them, yet it's like you're taking money off of what you're paying them. So definitely, if you are working for an employer that automatically signs you up for a prepaid card or something like that, ask them if there's a different avenue. Ask them, hey, do you have direct deposit? Or hey, can I go ahead and get a paper check? I'm pretty sure you can get a paper check and you can go to, the Walmart Money Center or Kroger or wherever, a banking institution, things of that nature, and you can cash it for a lot less than $40, $50 a month based on, the fees that are charged by these prepaid companies. So definitely when you're using those cards, or you're thinking of signing up for a prepaid card, or you're wanting to load your income tax on these prepaid cards, definitely make sure that you go through the fine print. That's where they get you. You think it's a great idea, you sign up for the fine print. You sign up without reading the fine print, and then lo and behold, when you get your statement, there's a whole bunch of deductions. So definitely, kind of just keep that in mind, things of that nature. The last tip that I want to give is, it's back to school time. I'm a mother of 2, and it's crazy for me because their uniforms have completely changed. So I have to start from scratch. So I'm somebody that likes to save money as much as possible. So I got some tips for parents, guardians, people that are getting ready to prepare their youth to go back to school. Here are some tips on saving on school supplies. Number 1, don't buy everything on the list if you don't have to. There's a lot of times where people buy extra things like that. Definitely check to see if you have anything left over from last year that you can use. Pencils, papers, folders. I know I got extra poster boards and stuff for science projects. Make sure you go through what you already have laying around the house before you just go buy stuff up. Follow what's on the list. A lot of times you can go to the school's websites and just automatically print out the school supply list. Go ahead and print it out when you go to the grocery store or to Walmart or Walgreens, Target, wherever you shop at. Make sure you go by the list. Don't deviate it, because that will catches us every single time. We find stuff that we don't even need. You buy these cute little backpacks, but when they go to school, they have to have clear backpacks. So basically, you got a hot pink one for nothing that you can't even use. Stay what's on the list. Watch for sales. I'm a huge, I don't buy nothing unless it's on sale, or if I have a coupon to reduce the price. So definitely watch what's on sale. And a lot of times these big stores, they do price match. So if you see something at one store but you shop at another, definitely take that flyer with you so you can get it for that match price. Look for coupons as well, because if you get something for a match price and then you're able to use a coupon, you are already saving a bunch of money. Especially if you're somebody like me that has, more than one child, it does add up. So definitely make sure that you use coupons, look for coupons, things like that. Shop strategically. Don't go into other departments if you don't have anything to get out of that department, because you're going to end up spending money because you're going to see something that you really like and you don't need to. Don't fret if you pay too much. Basically, what will happen if you're using coupons and you're catching on stuff on sale, you're spending less than what it typically would cost anyway. So definitely give yourself a pat on the back. And last but not least for these tips, don't buy more than what you need. I know some of us like to stock up and things like that, but don't buy more than what you really, really need. With those tips, hopefully we'll try to keep your back to school costs a little bit low. We're getting ready to go to break, and when we come back, we'll be talking about finances and how to save.
We want it all. This that new with the homage to the old heads. This that truth, the proof, watch me go win. Flow like a new win, a rude kid, ruthless. Shake the room, got these dudes like, ooh shit. Who this? It's my dialect, Daijobu. Don't scam no style, I'm still fly tobu. I ain't you and I don't try, just stay true. I know who I am, where I've been and what I came through. I'm good, none them with you, Temo Ashi on the foot pedal, renegade, a true rebel. So I'm
hey, welcome back to the Jules J Show. I'm your host, Jules. So, we're gonna come back from break, and we're gonna kind of keep going with the whole saving thing. We left off with how to save on back to school. Now I want to talk about something that's gonna basically help you prepare for later on down the line, the future, things like that. I want to talk about some money saving tips that you can do. Even though the economy's back on the rise and employment's starting to pick up, things like that, that's great. But we want to make sure that we're prepared just in case the economy hits a bottom again, which history repeats itself, and eventually it will. Hopefully we will be more prepared than where we was several years ago. So the first thing is spend a little, save a little. Give yourself a budget that you can have and use throughout, whether you get paid twice a month. So set a certain amount for in between. So if you get paid every other week, say I'm gonna have $50 for play money. After that $50 is spent, that is it. Nothing more. You don't dip into anything else, but it's going to take a lot of willpower. But once you do that, you'll be able to, once you start doing that on a consistent basis, you'll be feeling more comfortable, and you know that you'll be living within your means, but at the same time, you will see your savings starting to grow, which is very important, especially when we don't know how Social Security is going to be when, my generation is at that point, things of that nature. So just make sure that, you set some aside. Once it's gone, it's gone. There's no dipping into your savings, checking, things like that. Can't touch this. I call this the 48 rule. I know when I'm out looking, shopping, things like that, I might see something that I really, really, really like, but it might not be something that I can afford at that point in time, or I can't really find a reason why or justify spending X amount of dollars on something. So what'll happen is I will leave the store without purchasing it. If I still want it 48 hours later, then it's something that I really want and I know that I will use. If I don't think about it again, then obviously it wasn't meant to be, because a lot of people are impulse shoppers or emotional buyers, or, they get paid and they feel like they're on top of the world, yet they haven't paid any bills or things like that. So definitely try to incorporate the 48-hour rule into your budget. Or when you're out shopping, things of that nature. If you can go without 48 hours and you don't think about it and you don't need it, then it wasn't meant to be. So that's definitely another one. Also, it's called a picture this account. So let's say you want to purchase a home, but you're not quite financially ready to. Create an account that's called home. That way, every time you're putting money into it, you know what it's going towards. You're going to purchase a home. The home that you want, the home that you'll grow in, that your kids might be able to grow in, or the home that you're going to retire in. So make sure that when you're doing something like that, give that account a meaning, some significance. Instead of, I got X amount of dollars in this, I can play with it. But when you associate a name with it that has some meaning, then you're tend not to touch it as much, and you're able to really sacrifice to put savings in there. Another thing is rounding up cash. A lot of banks are automatically doing this, where if you purchase something for $12.60, they'll automatically round it up to $13, and they'll put that extra money into your savings account. Well, over time, of course, that's going to grow, especially if you're a swiper. I call those people swipers that swipe, 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 swipe. That would be me, because I don't carry any cash on me. So that really works in my benefit. For me, what happens is every time I swipe, I have a whole dollar that automatically goes into my savings account. So at the end of the month, I'm saving on top of any additional money that I put into the savings account. So that's always a good way. And at the end of the day, you don't really miss that money. You're not really counting that money into your daily budget and things like that. Savings. treat it as a bill, so pay it. Basically, when you're doing your budget on a consistent basis and you're looking over your budget, whether you do a budget every time you get paid or on a monthly basis, whatever the case may be, make sure that you automatically include how much you're going to put into a savings account. A lot of times what people do is when they have stuff like direct deposits, they'll automatically have X amount of dollars going to in a savings account. That way they don't miss that money. Whatever's left over after you deduct your savings account portion, pay your bills off of that. Live off of that. That way, like I said, you'll never miss that money. Making sure that it automatically goes. And setting up automatic deposit is really, really simple. Most of the time it's online. You can get with your HR provider and they can go fill out a paper and you basically just tally out how much you want to automatically go into there. Get symbolic with your savings. If you know that you want to retire at the age of 65, every time you get paid, put $65 into your savings account or $165 into your savings account or whatever the case may be. I even read a story where a gentleman, what he did was, however old his kids were, he basically took that money and set it aside every time he got paid. Which is, as they get older, the increase is really not heartbreaking, or it's not gonna, break the bank, but he's doing something on a consistent basis. And not only that, if you don't know where to start with savings, or if you don't know what or how to set up a budget or get your finances in order, there are so many different organizations or people that are working with finances and things like that can assist you. So don't be scared to ask somebody. I'd rather you ask somebody, hey, how should I go ahead and set up a budget, or I need to start savings, or what do I need to do? Go to see a financial planner if you choose to, things like that. But definitely take the steps now, so when something major happens, or there's a crisis, or things of that nature, you're more prepared. And not only that, they say that you should have at least 6 months of your bills saved up in a savings account. So basically, if you take your rent, your mortgage, on all your monthly bills, you should times that by 6, and that's how much you should be in your savings account. I know that I have a lot of conversations that go on Facebook a lot of the time, and one of my Facebook friends had told me that he travels a lot. So basically what he did was he didn't re-sign his lease. He put all his stuff in storage, and he ended up saving about $9,000 over a course of year, just not having any rent and of course your power bill and things like that. But he ended up saving about $9,000 in just 1 year by doing that, because he traveled a lot. So if you do travel a lot and you're hardly ever, at home in your residence, that might be an option for you, whether it's not re-signing your lease, or maybe it's renting out your home or things like that. When you're in town, you can stay with friends, relatives, things like that. If you work for a company that has, benefits and deals, staying at a hotel, there's nothing wrong with getting a very nice hotel for a week. You're not paying any rent. So there's a huge difference right there. So definitely make sure that you kind of look into some different avenues and what works best for you. If you do own a home, here are some tips or 4 different ways that you could possibly reduce your mortgage costs. And I can definitely identify with some of these. The first scenario is you want to refinance, but you can't afford the closing costs. One big thing is you can do is you can always ask, can you roll your closing costs into your actual loan? That way, you're not having to scramble for that cash. And let me just show you how big of a difference this can make. And another thing is, with the interest rates being so low, you don't want to have to wait until you get the closing costs, and then by that time the interest rates might be back up. So for an example, we're going to take this on a $300,000 loan for a 30-year fixed mortgage. If you roll your closing costs into it, so that makes your loan amount $310,000 at a 4% interest rate, your total interest is $222,800. If you didn't do that, it's just $300,000, still 4% interest rate, your total interest paid is $215,600. So really, over the length of 30 years, the difference is only going to be about $70 to $200. So I'd rather you capitalize now on the low interest rates instead of trying to wait, and then your interest rate is through the roof. It's ridiculous, and you're definitely gonna be paying more money. Definitely think about that. Ask your, the individual that you're working with to secure the loan if that is a possibility for you. Number 2, you can't qualify for a refinance because your home is underwater. There are definitely several different government programs out there to assist you. I know a lot of us are underneath water in our homes just because when we purchased it, the market was a lot different than what it is now. There's a couple different programs that I did some research on. Then the first one is Home Affordable Refinance Program. It's called HARP. It's something that you can look into, but understand that this loan has to originate before June 2009, and it has to be owned by Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac. If it's not any of those, that might not be the best program for you. You probably won't qualify. But if the HARP, let me read that to you one more time. HARP, which is the Home Affordable Refinance Program. If that is not available to you, check out the HAMP, which is the Home Affordable Modification Program. And that's slightly different because it can make changes to your existing loan to make your monthly payments more affordable. So HAMP is one to check out as well. And that one, they tend to work with your lenders to see basically, what your loan is and what is your house value for it, and then they'll work off the modification that way. That's definitely, so many people, their home is underwater. The property value has completely decreased from when it used to be, things of that nature. So definitely, if you're in one of those situations, see what options you have. I'd rather you check out the options that you have before foreclosure and things of that nature. Third one, you can't decide between a 30-year or a 15-year-old term. And basically, what's going to decide that for you is your cash flow. That's going to be the biggest issue. Of course, with a 30-year loan term, your monthly mortgage is going to be a lot cheaper monthly just because it's stretched out for further. But understand, when it's a 30-year term versus 15-year term, you're going to pay a lot more based off of the interest rate over the length of the mortgage. So you definitely and not only that, when you're in a 15-year mortgage, your interest rate tends to be less just because you're paying it off quicker. So definitely look at those, look at your cash flow, but you have to see what you can afford. What's the best thing for you? And not only that, when you're doing 30-year mortgages, there are some tricks to the trade. One of them is, and I would encourage anybody to do this, whether you have a home or a car, pay your mortgage or your car bi-monthly. Whether it's the 1st and the 15th, 15th and the 31st, cut it in half. And as long as you are still paying the same amount, or the amount that is due, the minimum amount is due, you're fine. But basically, one of those payments go towards principal and interest, and the other one does not, and it eats up your loan quicker. Not only that, what you need to do, or what you could do, is a good suggestion is, when you break it up into the bi-monthly payments, add an additional amount to that bi-monthly payment. So therefore, you're eating up your loan quicker and quicker. I've done this. I've done it since I purchased my home. And because I split it up by monthly payments and I paid extra on it, I went from a 30-year mortgage to a 19-year mortgage just because I'm paying extra. So I definitely encourage anybody and everybody to do that. But not only that, that also helps you stay ahead of the game. God forbid something to ever happen, you have so much money in the pot that they might be more likely to work with you. If you do it with a car and something happens and you have to look for another job, you actually end up paying ahead of time, so it doesn't impact you as bad. Number 4, you want to pay off your loan faster, whether it's 15 or 30, do as I said, and pay extra on that. If you make either extra payments a year, you make extra on your monthly payments, you will definitely see the benefits in the long run. If you have any questions about that, I would definitely tell you to check into your whoever your mortgage provider is, things of that nature, and see what options that they have for you. But bi-monthly payments and paying extra on it, if you get a bonus, definitely apply that. If you get income taxes, apply that. If you get a raise, make sure you apply that. Not only that, if you started out with a $1,500 mortgage, you got to remodify it, and now your mortgage is $1,000. Continue living as if it was a $1,500 mortgage, and pay that extra money if you're able to do so. So just act like, if there's changes and your mortgage is decreased, act like it never has and continue paying the same amount. Definitely stay ahead of everything. And then the last tips that I can tell you is several things that you should never buy new. The first off the top of the list, if you don't have to buy a new car, do not buy a brand new car just because of the depreciation as soon as you drive it off the lot. And not only that, there's different, costs associated with, brand new cars, including car insurance. So definitely make sure that you understand your finances. You're able to cut back when you can. You learn to, save when shopping, using coupons, catching sales, understanding your mortgage and how to get ahead on your mortgage. And with all those tips, if you have any questions, you can definitely reach out to me at JulesJ1878@gmail. I'm also on Facebook. Shout out to the whole entire Track Cats team. If you want to catch any of us, go to trackcats.com. And thank you for tuning in, and I will see you next time. This is Jules J.